It's the Redirect Podcast, search industry research, discussion, and analysis from the Black Truck Media and Marketing Headquarters. And now, redirecting you to the Black Truck team.
Welcome to episode 58 of the Redirect Podcast. It is Friday, September 28th, 2018. I'm Jason Dodge, founder of Black Truck Media and Marketing. I'm joined this week by Ashley from the Black Truck team.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Happy 20th birthday to Google this week, or this month.
Yeah. I was thrown off. I thought you were wishing me a happy birthday. I was like,
No, not your birthday.
No.
But I think seriously, so I wanted to open this this episode up. If you haven't guessed, by wishing Google a happy birthday, what our theme is and what we're going to talk about here today. But seriously, I think as much as we, as SEOs, certainly sit around here and curse many of the moves that Google makes and a lot of digital marketers do, if it were not for them, we wouldn't have such a robust community centered around SEO. Mm-hmm. Black Truck probably would not exist in its current form, at least in what we do. And the Redirect Podcast wouldn't be a thing, and we wouldn't be here talking to everyone about search marketing and how to make your brand grow online, period.
Yep.
So, I think you also can't argue something that's kind of stuck out to me as I was reading through a lot of the news this week was you can't really argue the fact that pretty much one company, soapbox moment here, one company has kind of single-handedly connected the world just simply based off of its quest to organize information.
Yeah.
So, this past week, I believe it was on the 24th, the 20th anniversary in the Future of Search event for Google happened, I think, out in San Francisco. And so much of what we're going to talk about and maybe banter on is more what that event covered, some highlights, and what's to come. So, Ashley, what did you... I know there were three, what Google's really kind of picked on were three key areas at least. There's a couple really great blog posts out there already. Obviously, Search Engine Land has a lot of really great coverage on it, but Google's Danny Sullivan has covered a lot of things, and the biggest three areas, the fundamental shifts that they talked about were the shifts from answers to journeys, the shift from queries to providing a queryless way to get information, and then the shift from text to more visual way of finding information. So let's maybe start there and talk about some of those.
Sure. I mean, and they broke those down in different ways.
Unique ways, I would say.
Yeah, so the shift from answers to journeys, we can talk about that a little bit. So they have added these new features, which I didn't catch when they're really rolling out. Did you?
Not necessarily. A lot of it, the biggest one, basically retracing your steps, activity cards. So all of this stuff is very, very much new. I didn't read anything that was like, oh yeah, that's been around for a while. I think a lot of that information has been there. It's been behind the scenes. A lot of this is in your browser, your quote unquote browser history, if you will. So
right. The feature that you just talked about was retrace. Yeah, activity cards to be able to retrace your sites that you visited from search through Google. And so basically, instead of having to look through your browser's history for what that website was, there's a way. This isn't for all queries. They are somehow intelligently just showing this feature for only certain queries, but it will show up as a little mobile style card if you've gotten used to those on your mobile environment for Google. And it will list some recent websites that you had visited related to a query if it's a query that you repeat in Google search. So that's interesting. I can see how that would be helpful. There's definitely times that I've wanted to return to something that I've visited. I mean, I don't always bookmark things. So
yeah. Well, that's where apps or integrations or extensions like Pocket and things like that are really great. And that's really kind of the direction that they're going, is almost like a sorry, not sorry to Pocket. But now you can keep track of your searches with collections.
Yes.
So collections in search, you can create collections and keep track of the content that you visited, whether it's website, article, images, and get back to it later. They've had this feature for a while. If Google.com is your homepage, you'll sometimes see that more or less curated at the bottom. This is going to be another iteration of that. The thing that is frustrating about that, not to wax on them too hard, but attribution is going to be much harder for us in the digital marketing space.
Yes.
And so if anything that comes out of this, I think I applaud Google for these advancements and making things easier on the user. But if we're not, I think if we don't start to see some more robust things coming to Google Analytics as it relates to attribution and a cleanup there, this is going to be really difficult to try and track and to share with someone in terms of how their traffic is improving.
Yeah. So is it going to count as a new visit from organic search? Or is it going to be one of those kind of dark, direct visits that I know Pat's kind of exploring something that we can share here about that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is interesting. And this whole, when you shared, you had sent us this link earlier this week. It was like, hey, guys, look at this. And so I read it right away. And the first thing I could think of was our conversation back in March when Google was testing the zero results SERPs. I mean, this is different in many ways because it's not like they're only showing one thing or, because this is a way for users to be able to kind of organize and revisit things. But it also made me think of how this could potentially prevent visits, depending on the context, I guess.
No, I agree.
So it's kind of adding to that concept. Dr. Pete had written a great article about around the time of the zero results SERPs, where he went in depth on Google's walled garden and how Google's trying to keep users more on their websites. And so these advancements are good because they'll ultimately keep users from kind of doing the pogo sticking thing with search results. It'll help them more quickly find probably what they're looking for. But then that's also maybe preventing some clicks.
Yeah, and I think too, that's a big hat tip to Dr. Pete from Moz. There's been a few other Mozers, former Mozer Rand Fishkin, as well as a few others that we've heard at industry conferences. For the past, I'm going to go back at least 3 years, if not 4 years, have been predicting these types of things just based off of the signals that they've seen and followed. Even the whole the changes with knowledge graph in this whole I guess they call it topic layer.
Oh yes.
To go even further on your idea of, well, I don't ever have to leave Google to get this information. So Google's gonna scrape that content from somewhere. In this knowledge graph, are we going to call this, is this a featured snippet? Are we going to be able to, explain that to clients that we're working with? Or if you're in-house, you're going to be able to explain that to people that you're winning that space and how valuable is it, whether or not people click through. There's a lot of discussion that's going to come out of this whole thing. So, but really their goal is, as they put it in their words, all of this enables experiences that make it easier than ever to explore your interests, even if you don't have your next search in mind. So I think that's more of a bold statement into the shift toward predictive search, if you will. Queries to queryless ways of getting information, if you will. how do we get information without searching? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you read anything deep in on that one at all.
More so I read something more so along the lines of the new Discover.
Was it Google
Feed?
Google Feed, yeah. Which did you touch on that in last? No, you brought it up this week.
I don't recall, but I know that probably in a previous episode of the podcast when the feed was first announced, I remember we talked about it then, and so the feed was something that would show up on your Google homepage, if you will, if you're using the Google app on mobile, or if possibly if you're using Chrome. Mm-hmm. I don't use Chrome on my phone, so
you Apple user.
So it will be a kind of a curated feed based on what your interests are shown to be through your search activity, but then you can also add your interests so that it will curate things for you. So it's customized for you, but then you can also customize it. And I think we also had that conversation about filter bubbles and all of that. So
if you're familiar with how Google News works now, so news.google.com, and you're signed in, if you're logged in, and you can give it parameters. You can say, yes, I like this. No, I don't like this. I want to see more or less of this. Is it relevant or related to me? So if you're used to that, think of it as that for all of your content, and certainly more of a user-friendly approach. From what I've seen is more tile-focused, much like Pinterest would be, much like boards. If you are a buyer of things off of Facebook Marketplace, or like me, I'm just a voyeur on Facebook Marketplace because I'm fascinated by the psychology of individuals and what makes them want to sell their junk. It now categorizes. I basically now have curated boards, if you will, based on the things that I've looked at and the items that I've looked at. Totally furthering the filter bubble problem, maybe.
But then also interest areas.
Yes,
so I could see it being valuable for being able to actually break through to the audience that's going to be looking for the information that you have to share. So.
Which leads me into a side tangent about the fact that within this past year we've been able to target audiences by interest in search ads, which was a feature loosely only done well in display networks before, right? Because it was based on, well, these types of users are visiting this type of site content, so we place them in that category. Well, now that data has become way more refined, and we can target that audience, searching for airline tickets, actively searching for airline tickets to a major city, and we can add an audience layer in there already that shows that they're in market, they're actively seeking these things out. This is all, in my opinion, kind of what I see as interconnected kind of data layers. So, yeah, interesting.
Since I haven't personally seen the feed myself, which the Google feed is now being switched over to Discover, is what they're calling it now, and it's actually going to be available in any mobile browser if you search google.com. So that means it's going to be forced to me as a Safari user on my phone.
Yep. So if Google's your homepage is what you're saying. So google.com, it's going to be. Yep.
Or if you...
avenue of, I want to advertise strictly to this filter, to this filter bubble. I only, these are my people. My people are interested in travel. They're savvy travelers. They're interested in food, and specifically Mexico, whether it be Mexican cultures, whether it be travel to Mexico, that type of thing. All of a sudden, your content hyper curated for you. You're consuming it probably at a greater speed than you would have normally, and I can advertise to you. So it's kind of it's a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, and how this will appear for the feed and the Discover is Google will categorize in, they call them topic headers. So I imagine that would be useful to any sort of audience targeting that might happen, So let's say you're interested in, an example that they give here is interior design. So that will, if that comes up in your feed or your discover, whatever you want to call it, it will have that topic heading above the content. And then when it feeds you things you may be interested in, it will have that topic header, and you can actually choose to add that to your feed. And so you'll kind of see the kind of information that's being curated.
And moving more into curation and content, the other theme that really stands out is, and this is I think is a trend that you can see, Google over the years has become more visual. So as stripped down as Google search has always been, very different than say Yahoo or Bing have always had ads on their homepage, a lot of news, a lot of different pieces of information pulled into it. Google has very much said, nope, we're a search engine. Come here and find your information. Now we start to see them become more visual. And that's visual responses in search, and we've seen that over the past couple of years with the increase in featured snippets, knowledge graph, and the various knowledge panels that you see, the influx and improvements in local search. We know that image search has gotten an overhaul and is rolling out, which is also integrated with shopping ads for products. But so Google Images is completely changing. They're working to basically make it better for people to find information more visually. I've had a couple of really great discussions with Gianluca who runs the Inbounder about this, and why visual search and image search can bridge gaps in language. Because an image is more or less a universal sign to say, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I need. And images are very difficult to describe in search. It's very easy for me to go to Google with an image and search based on my own image, maybe that I took, or just a simple description of what it is that I might be looking for, and have thousands or hundreds of images that are refined come up in front of me to say, oh yes, it's that dress, or it's that that product, whatever it is. So did you read anything on the different renditions of AMP or AMP and AMP stories?
No, I did not make it to that.
So more immersive visual content with stories. I think this impacts more of the news and media. We've seen we've seen the rise of AMP, so accelerated mobile pages, and we've seen a lot of people get on that bandwagon and certainly win in some areas. But then I believe it's always been geared more toward media and news type outlets, and it's a fast, lightweight way to view content. Well, now it's AMP stories. You can basically create a story on the open web. So what Google's saying is they have publishers experimenting with the format now, providing people with a more visual way to get information from search and news. So haven't really seen how this is going to come out, but
Interesting.
Nonetheless, yeah. Featured videos was finally talked about. We've seen that.
Oh yes.
On our own, I think Pat actually in our office discovered it quite a few number of months ago. We confirmed it as a global thing with the team in Distilled in Europe. And so basically, if you go and do a search for, say, something like how to ride a bike, how to repair a sink, or something like that, you're going to get videos that come up that are featured. It's a featured YouTube video. It may or may not automatically fast forward to where it is those instructions are, but more or less, they have an understanding of the topic space, and they're going to show the most relevant video. And you're not going to have to leave Google to do it. Mm-hmm. So that'll be interesting to see how that continues to grow as well. So very much more a visual representation of the web. So Google Lens, I personally have not been a Google Lens fanboy, but I will leave it there. So that's really the takeaways that I gathered from it. Really trying to stick to their three main points there. Personalization of the search journey years ago, topic layers and answer boxes. Google Feed is now Discover, AMP Stories, and the other thing I think that should be mentioned too is some of the job searches, and really anything that is. We've talked about this before, and we've seen others present on in the industry. Is people ask us, depending on their industry, like, should I be worried about Google capitalizing on it? Basically, we see these things like conversion calculators and answers, featured snippets, not giving me a reason, the user, to leave Google. Mm-hmm. There's nothing driving me to say your site, Ashley. Mm-hmm. And really what it comes down to is I think the more specialty you can be, the better off you are. Meaning, it might be that super hyper long tail keyword strategy, but that's something that Google may or may not. I think they're less likely to capitalize on that. Mm-hmm. You might win more traffic from being specialized and being the real authoritative source on it. But I do know that they do the quality rater guidelines in a couple different spots. So quality rater guidelines were totally touched on as well. And so I think that's something to pay attention to. Yeah, so
for sure.
If anything, you take away from this, you see the impact and the changes to knowledge graph. That's a clear indication that you, again, need to be focused on schema and microformats and how you're feeding that data to Google. Entity search. So again, it's less about just the single keyword and more about the theme. So thematically, how's my content organized? And what are we doing to make our sites lightweight and fast? Because that's the direction that everything's going. At least the signals tell us anyways. So. What did we miss? Was that it? Was that Google in 20 years?
Pretty much. I can't find my notes now. I must have lost them, but there was something else that I believe came out of this 20-year celebration too, was the idea of their neural, I wish I could remember the term that they use now, but a way of neural matching to understand synonyms. So this is a way of using artificial intelligence to better connect words to concepts. This is a direct quote from Danny Sullivan. Again, super synonyms in a way, and this impacts 30% of queries. So the example that was used was, if you don't know what the soap opera effect is, to be able to search for it, Google can figure that out. So the example was, why does my TV look strange? And Google was able to direct the user to results about the soap opera effect. So this a little bit goes back to the conversation that we've had on previous episodes when Patrick was talking about like semantic search and keyword clustering, that sort of thing. But the idea of not having to optimize strictly for keywords, like one keyword, the way you were looking at me, I was like, he doesn't know where I'm going with this.
No, I'm interested. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, so it's you don't have to only optimize for keywords, but you're actually optimizing for concepts in a way.
Totally. So, I think what we don't want to say, we're not overgeneralizing and simplifying SEO.
No.
If anything, it makes it more complex. Mm-hmm. it makes it harder to educate. It makes it harder to educate a client. It makes it harder for you, if you're in-house, to educate other marketing professionals on the importance of SEO. But it also goes back to maybe an approach that we've always thought about here, not to toot our own horn, but it's always about the individual behind the keyboard making the search. It's very much a human-centered approach to SEO. And for a moment, when you're certainly when you're developing your content, screw thinking about links and where you're getting your links from, and did we acquire more links? Get that out of your mindset for a moment, and really focus on developing that content that is going to be helpful. It's authoritative, and it really works for the user. It gives the user what they want.
Yep. And back to last week's episode, speaking their language, and that's what I think of with this example of the soap opera effect. If you have some concept that you're presenting in your content, what are some other ways that people might talk about
Right.
what you're trying to present?
Correct.
And how can you incorporate that and make it easier for your information to be discovered when someone is looking for
Right.
that concept? I guess that's very vague.
No. Yeah, I think there's a whole other piece there that can be explored, and maybe that's a topic of a blog post or even a whole other episode of the Redirect. But really, today we wanted to dedicate it to 20 years of Google, and really, if you look at all of the tech companies out there that we have right now, between Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those major companies, between big powerful search player to social media giants. Remember, search continues to grow. We know that. I think we'll continue to see search grow and be a major part of marketing focus for years to come.
Grow and change.
Absolutely. Constantly changing, right? So don't get caught up on those articles that say SEO's dead. SEO's changing constantly. So it's more important, I think, than ever before to really work closely on it. So cool. Awesome. Thanks for sharing your insights on what you read this week, and hopefully our listeners got some benefit out of it too, so you don't have to go and read all the lengthy blog posts from Google out there on what was covered and whatnot. We certainly will link to them in the show notes, so check those out at blacktruckmedia.com/podcast. And until next time, good luck.
This has been the Redirect Podcast. Check out the show notes at blacktruckmedia.com and add us on iTunes and Stitcher.